Hey everybody, Psych Out back here. Gonna go over a couple of games that I played recently and try to describe the sort of game plan for the deck I've been playing and how these decks were, how this particular deck I've been using for a while works. As you can see, we've gotten ourselves all the way up to 1935 trophies, all the way pretty well into Castle 6 now. I'm not 100% sure this deck is completely viable through Castle 6, but it's gotten us there. It's kept us up there for a little while. Um, and I'll show you again, just as a reminder, the deck we've been playing. It's this one here. The basic goal of the deck is to slow our opponent down early, to get out Black Knight, to control our opponent's cards trying to stop the Black Knight with the Demon, and to use whatever this thing is called, the Shaman, to do some range damage and maybe get behind a Golem, get behind a Black Knight. And then, of course, the big thing is the Metamorph. We want to use the Metamorph to get really cheap Black Knights. So the idea is that we'll have some Black Knights out there, throw down the Metamorph, and we'll get some additional Black Knights. And we'll see these strategies go into effect in the games I'll show you here. So let's go to this game first. You see, I actually threw in another deck here for a little while. I was experimenting with. I won one and lost one. I won't talk about that deck. I don't think it's that strong. So let's show a couple of recent games. And one of the things you'll note is that I haven't played anybody at my castle strength, which I did just upgrade to 6 recently, or lower in a while. Okay, so my opponent here goes for really rapid development. It's got some very speedy cards in mind, and that's what the bombs are for. So he's played almost all of his cards, and yes, they have a mana advantage, but I played a 2 mana card and killed and basically just wasted all of his cards on that. Now I got another mana ritual, and now my opponent's down to 2 cards, which this is very threatening. Uh, the um, the Mud Elemental is a very strong card, so here I am trying to slow it down. That's why I use the Inferno. But then he had the heal spell, healing it up. Now, my opponent here just misses the timing on the Meteor. If the timing had been perhaps just a bit sooner, they might have killed, let me pause here, they might have killed the demon before it could have done its demon effect. Now, the demon effect knocked out about half of the strength of the Mud Elemental, and that was really important because then I played my Metamorph knowing I was going to get a Mud Elemental. Now, what some people will do is play a Metamorph in that situation when a Mud Elemental has full strength. The problem is the Metamorph will get hit. Notice my Mud Elemental is at half strength right now. The Metamorph will get hit by a Mud Elemental pounding on your castle if you play it right in front of the castle like that. And so the Metamorph did get hit. If that Mud Elemental had been at full strength, my Metamorph would have died before it ever had a chance to turn into a Mud Elemental and have been a complete waste. But because I knew his Mud Elemental was at half strength, I went ahead and played my Metamorph knowing that it wouldn't die to the Mud Elemental and I would get a Mud Elemental in return, which could do damage and at least stop, if not kill, his own Mud Elemental. And so that's what happened there. And now turns out I'm the person with the card out, and now I'm going Mana Ritual, and I'm looking to play Black Knight now. And so here we go. Here comes my Black Knight. My opponent kills the Mud Elemental in the middle. I'm not worried about that. Now I have some choices. I can play the Shaman if I want to. Go ahead and decide to play it. I want to play it behind the Black Knight here. I don't always do that. Sometimes I try to deceive my opponent by playing it somewhere else. My opponent played the protection. I threw the bomb down there, hoping to just get rid of those skeletons so my Black Knight can start doing some damage. And now here I'm delaying. I'm waiting to play the arrows. I could have played the arrows a little sooner, but I wanted to wait. Instead, I threw my Black Knight out to kill the demon, and then knowing I would come back with the arrows when the skeletons got there. Unfortunately, that's going to end up costing me my Black Knight over here, but in the meantime, I've got that replaced with a Black Knight on the board. My opponent plays a Mage, and I'm waiting here to decide what to play. Right around in this point, or just a fraction of a second before this, I noticed that the Mage and the Shaman were going to kill each other. And as soon as I saw that, I knew this was a great opportunity to play the Metamorph, because the only card that's going to be out there is the Black Knight. And now I can play for 3 mana, get a Black Knight, and I have another Metamorph in my hand. I can play for 3 mana and get a Black Knight. So I'm going, wow, this is going to be great. I can get 2 or 3 Black Knights out on the board for very little cost. And that's exactly what happens here. My opponent, they kill each other, and I put the Black Knight out in time, knowing that when it died, my Black Knight would generate. I get another Black Knight and Metamorph, and now we've got 4 Black Knights on the board. And I tell my opponent good game because I know he has no chance of winning facing this kind of an assault with so few cards in his hand. And so that's how we won that one, and that's kind of the goal of the deck, is to use that Metamorph to get cheap Black Knights. And then to just use your Black Knights to pound your opponent. Okay, so that was one game. We'll show another game here. And this time we'll do similar kinds of breakdown. All right, so here I've got an option early on. I can use the mana ritual, and sometimes I do this. I will use the mana ritual to throw out the shaman, because the shaman, when it's out there by itself, it can be difficult for your opponent to figure out what lane it's in, and they might have to waste a card or two trying to get it. In this case, my opponent has arrows, and a lot of opponents will wait until your shaman gets close. But here, I go ahead and say, you know what? If they're going to wait until my shaman gets close so they can play their arrows to figure out what lane he's in, I'm going to put a shaman in every lane, because the shaman, it's a level 2 shaman, is quite powerful. And I've got a demon ready to go if my opponent plays some kind of a creature. Now, it could have been a mistake to play that golem. I was thinking I wanted to get that golem out in front of my shaman. So I went ahead and used a bomb to kill the mage, and my shamans are just doing tremendous amounts of damage. And now I'm just sitting here waiting with the demon. And I'm waiting to see what card my opponent plays, because I'm ready to kill it with the demon. Unfortunately, my opponent does not play a card, so I just drop a bomb on their castle. And now I think, okay, I'm going to have to play a demon because I want to maintain something out on the board. I want to keep something in the lane so that I can get my Black Knight out farther down the board. My opponent does play a Druid. I knocked it out with it, and now I put the Golem out there just so I can have somebody in every lane. I'm not worried about my opponent playing some kind of counterattack creature, because I looked at all the Black Knights I was getting in my hand, knowing, okay, I'm going to be able to play a bunch. And here I don't even attempt to challenge his Black Knight. I could have tried to challenge his Black Knight in the middle with my own Black Knight, but I looked at that and I said, why? Why would I do that? My opponent is down to 628 health. That's 2 hits from the Black Knight, and it's game over. So all I need to do is get a Black Knight up close to their castle, or even just a few, several hits with a Golem, and I can put this game away. I'm not even worried about taking damage myself. I also have the Inferno, which I can use, and I believe I do use it here. I'm a little slow with it, but I do use it, thinking, okay, here we go. Now the Black Knight's going to do his hits. And my opponent plays, unfortunately, right before I would have finished him off, my opponent did play Gust of Wind. But I went ahead and put a Black Knight out now to defend my castle, because I don't want to take too much damage now. So I've got my Black Knight out. My opponent has some big cards coming for me, but fortunately I am prepared with my arrows and take out most of the trouble for me there. And I'm just coming with these Black Knights, and now is the perfect time, like we usually do, to play a Metamorph. Now you can see our opponent is playing his own Black Knight right now. That's very fortunate, because that means there'll be 3 Black Knights on the board, but there's also an Executioner out there, which is not a bad card to get with a Metamorph either. I do get a Black Knight with it, and now I play a Demon just to kill his Black Knight. Again, I have control of all the lanes. I've got Black Knights in 2 of them. I'm going to go ahead and kill the creature he's got out there, and I think ultimately there I realized that I drew a bomb. I can't really go back, and so you can't really see it. I was going to win anyway, but ultimately I saw my opponent was less than 100 and something health, and I knew my bomb did enough damage, and I finally had drawn one, and so I went ahead and just played the bomb on the castle. That's one of the things about bombs. If you don't have any skeletons or archers to kill, you can just play it on their castle and do 100 and something damage, and in this case it just finished off the game. Okay, so that was a second game, and now I'll show you the third game. So in this game, my starting hand, you don't really necessarily want to have 2 bombs in your starting hand to begin with, because I find that not a lot of opponents are rushing skeletons and archers out there at you, where the bombs can be really useful. But anyway, so we'll just use one on the castle. And usually I like to play golems out there, get them in the lanes. My opponent responds with a golem of his own. You can see my opponents, as usual, have better cards than me and better castles. But such is life in Castle Crush at this stage. Here I'm just waiting for the demon. I want to kill that druid, and I do. And plus my golem and my demon will match up very nicely against the golem he has. I'm waiting to kill his other creature. Just, again, the idea here is just to try to control some lanes. Okay, so now he's getting a little control back with his own demon. I decided to play the shaman in the middle. Why? Because I like that stack we've got in front. Yes, they can play Inferno, but they're not going to die to it. Okay, 2 Infernos, they will die. You know, you can't really count on your opponent having 2 Infernos. So now I'm just trying to battle back, and we've kind of done our job. We've slowed our opponent down enough. Our opponent has not gotten a major attack against us, and now it's time to start rolling out our Black Knights, get big creatures on the board, and then throw the Metamorphs in behind them. So that's the game plan here. So we've got a lot of big creatures. I decided, hey, this is a pretty good opportunity. We've got a Demon, a Black Knight, and an Orc. All of those are pretty decent cards. And I get an Orc out of it. Not a bad result. My opponent goes for the Skull King. I play the Inferno, so I can clear that out and keep doing damage with my Black Knight. Here, I elect to go ahead and bomb those and then play a Black Knight. Possibly should have played that Black Knight in the top lane, but here again, I saw a situation where, okay, I've got a Black Knight out, they've got an Orc out, these are good cards, let's play the Metamorph and get another good card. The real problem for this deck is when your opponent has a lot of skeletons out. If your opponent has a lot of skeletons out, you really can't play Metamorph because you're going to end up with a skeleton so often, and it's kind of useless. Archers can be kind of a problem for that too. Okay, so here I just decide he's trying to stop my stack up there. So I'm just going to defend it like crazy. And in the meantime, I have a Black Knight going down the middle lane. I Metamorph again. This time I get a Golem, which isn't, it could be worse. And now it's just too overwhelming, too many creatures. My opponent can play a Skull King, but at this point my opponent knew it was pretty much game over, and just elected not to play any cards. And so those are 3 games, and that's kind of how the deck works. You get out big creatures. Hopefully your opponent also has some good big creatures out there too, and then you get out your own bigger creatures for cheap using the Metamorph. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a like or subscribe if you like my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.